8:15, and we're going to talk to Harold H. Peacock and Jeff Harrison, our executive producer.
Yes.
He's asked us, Frank Thornton, who played Mr. Peacock and A Being Served, died 10 years ago this week.
Right.
Wonder if he's related to Harold Peacock. Can you find out, please?
Oh.
Well, Harold, can you explain to Jeff Harrison about that?
Yeah, Jeff, Mr. Peacock and Are You Being Served is a fictional character. I am absolutely real, so I'm not sure about any relationship there.
You're a funny man. Now, let's talk about the 1855 First-Class War in Ipswich.
Yeah, the war erupted in 1855, and it involved some of the biggest names in Ipswich history.
Right.
There was Richard Gill. He was the first postmaster in Ipswich and had a small shop on the side. In 1855... he was charged under the Vagrants Act at the Ipswich Police Court. The complaint was made by Hugh Gray, who was a youthful clerk at the local Bank of New South Wales.
Wow.
Gray complained that Gill had used bad language when he accused the clerk of not paying for a piece of horse tack. Now, Gill denied the charge, but he was never going to win the case. That's because Gray was the son of Colonel Charles Gray, who was the first police magistrate in Ipswich. Now, the case was being heard in Colonel Gray's own court. And although the Colonel stepped down on this occasion, the replacement was Alfred Sandeman. And he was known as, he's rather self-entitled. In fact, when Sandeman was elected to Queensland's first parliament, his own constituency complained of his manifest incompetence and gross inattention to the requirements of the electorate. And so he failed to see out a full term. Now, despite Gill denying his charge in the Ipswich case, he was found guilty. And the reason given by Sandeman was because of Gray's standing and character as a gentleman. And so his oath alone was sufficient to establish the fact of Gill's guilt. Now, to rub further salt into the wound, Gill was fined the sum of £5 with costs. And Gill, of course, was shocked at the snobbish verdict, saying that he used foul language, especially as Gray, who had given him so much impertinence, was only 17 years of age. Yeah, I know. So, look, Gill then went to the extent of handing to the magistrate a letter to be read aloud. It contained such foul and indecent language concerning Gill's wife that even the police became modestly red during the reading. Gill said he knew who the anonymous author was and wished to give him public notice that if the offence was repeated, that he would sue. Now, the general public, man in the street in Ipswich, regarded this court decision against Gill as so unjust and snobbish that there were threats of tarring and feathering the young Gray, who was commonly believed to be the writer of that scandalous letter. Now, Gill didn't let the verdict rest there. The following week, he was back in court, this time to sue Gray for the sum of 6 shillings, which was the price of the disputed horse tack. Now, the magistrate, the father, Colonel Gray, actually acted for his son on this occasion. Now, the magistrate for this case was John Brewster, who had sat on a number of cases with Colonel Gray in this same court. In fact, Brewster's full name was John Gray Brewster. It was quite probably a cousin of the Colonel. And so Gill was set to be stitched up yet again. Brewster, however, shocked the observers and gave the verdict for Gill, with costs against the young Gray. Thus, Gill had the last laugh at a section of Ipswich's really early aristocracy, and the magistrate Brewster, well, he took off back to England. Now, as for the young Hugh Gray, it would be little surprise to you, Danny, that not long afterwards, when he ran in Ipswich's very first municipal elections, that he placed 16th and failed miserably to be elected. And as for John Gill, he enjoyed a long life, and when he died at nearly 95 years of age, he had a big funeral procession through Ipswich that included not one but 2 men of Ipswich. So he certainly made the big time in town. And one of Gill's sons, ironically, became the Queensland Crown Solicitor, although he later died unexpectedly, the result of drinking tap water that had been polluted by frogs. But, Danny, this class war it was just the shopkeeper finally overcame what was clearly him being stitched up in court by the aristocracy of town. So it hasn't finished. Even to this day, we're sticking up for the little guys, aren't we?
Yeah, well, John Gill, the timber man, no relation, mate. I love it.
Well, he could be.
Well, he could be. He could be. Mate, you built it up. You built, you build, you build, and you build, and you build, and you build. It's the best builder. He is a story builder. He's not a storyteller. He's a story builder, and you can hear him exclusively here on West Brim Radio. How do we get a copy and hear that story again and find all about that class war?
Yeah, Richard Gill and Hugh Gray and Colonel and so on. Go online to historyouthere.com.
Historyouthere.com. Spread the word about Harold the H. Hang on. Peacock. And we have this Ipswich stories every week.